Okay, it's, I have 202 and it's on, November 18th, and it's the November meeting of the, Tree Committee of Bridgewater, and I'll call it to order. Is there any public comment? Don't see any, so we'll skip to the minutes for approval, November 11th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of, November 11th, 2025? You're muted, Pat.
I think you mean September.
No, I'm sorry, that's, yeah, it's my fault. It would mean October.
September and October.
Yeah, we postponed back in October. So both minutes were attached.
So what month are we calling them?
So I attached September and October.
Okay. Okay, so we need a motion for discussion anyway, for approval of the September, October minutes of 2025.
I have just one correction. I was in attendance on that September meeting, but not listed.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll get you added on that.
Okay, that was it.
Anybody else? Okay, then I'll call for a vote on the approval of the minutes for September, October with the
No.
inclusion of Pat being attendance.
Was that Shirley?
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
No.
we can hear you, Shirley.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All approved. Okay, old business, Tree City update. Nicole?
Yes, so I am working through this, and yesterday I sent an email to Ray and copied Paul. And Paul and I have done this now the third year in a row, but we just need to kind of coordinate some of those cost items to justify that we spent the $2 per capita. So that will be something that we'll work through over the next few weeks, and then I can again kind of get ready to submit the application before the holidays.
So there is nothing you see as a roadblock in terms of getting this in on time, correct?
Correct. Yep, I will. The one thing I want to do, and I probably won't have time till next week at some point, is to just figure out what, Josh, I may need to reach out to you just to let you know, give you kind of a better schedule of when the town manager might need to sign
Okay.
the, yeah. So basically, I'm pretty sure I was able to create like a PDF letter in which I then emailed to you, and I think that the former town manager signed and I re-uploaded. I'll have to just remind myself of that process. But ideally, I'd like to have obviously the whole application complete so he can review it. He's not going to want to sign something he can't review. So I'll dig into that next week and just kind of give you a heads up on when that might be coming.
Okay, yeah, I can get that back to you same day, no problem.
Okay,
Good.
awesome.
Just out of curiosity, are we ever in doubt about spending enough money to qualify? No.
No, probably not. I think now, I mean, we can add tree warden salary, but even when we didn't have that, Paul was able to even just look into a few of the contracts that right? Some of those contracts that you use
Yeah,
for third
some
party, like tree
removals.
care. Yeah.
I think we're a little less than what we did last year, this year, just because of scheduling conflicts with the companies. But we had a new vendor come in the
Okay.
last couple of weeks. You may have seen him. We did a lot of work on the library and the beech tree out front.
Hmm.
So I think we'll get there, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna spend around, I think I did the math. I'm gonna check in with the town clerk just to get the most up-to-date population, but I think I think our target value is about $52,000. I put that in the email, Paul, what we're kind of
Mhm.
trying to get to.
Is the amount of money we spend based on our population?
Yes.
$2 per capita. I
Okay.
think.
All right. Any other questions on the Tree City?
No, but
Right.
Ray, I just might need to touch base with you as well, just to get some of the final counts for how many trees we planted and some of those. I also wanted to kind of run by you maybe a back of napkin calculation for how many volunteer hours we spent collectively as a committee. That's one of the questions. I think last year I just kind of counted how many of us we are and, thought about our meetings and our, any events that we attended or whatever, but we can kind of pin that down again for this year.
All right, I didn't realize we need that, but that's fine. And then I think we should all count our hours that we do spend, which I haven't been doing.
Yeah.
We should make a note of it when we do things. Like Shirley and I, drove around taking pictures of trees for quite a while. We'll make
That's
a
a
point of
good
going in
point.
the future of doing that then.
Yeah, we probably should, because for now, I really just counted the number of us and our meetings and, the primary things, but I didn't, you're right. I probably way underestimated what we did last
Right.
year. If
Oh,
say it came, I don't remember, say it came to like 200 hours. Yeah.
Those you could simply email me the number of hours you think you spent over the last year regarding the tree committee.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let's write that down so I don't forget. Okay, plantings for the fall. I noticed Shirley, Paul, you got more trees in the ground.
Yeah, we've just completed, I think the count was 8 trees on Main Street, some Kwanzaa cherry trees, I believe there were
How many trees?
8.
8.
We have 15 trees altogether that we planted this year on Main Street.
15, you said?
15. There are 15 with water bags around them on Main Street as we speak.
Okay, yeah, I noticed some of them. Are there
Mhm.
any other plantings besides Main Street?
There are 2 on Broad Street, down there by Crispy's Restaurant, the railroad tracks.
Well, those were
And-
planted last year, weren't they?
Yeah, they may have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll also check on Pleasant Street and on Cottage Street. Do you know, Paul, if we got those trees in on Cottage Street by the kids' baseball area? Did you plant any trees down there
Yeah, that was,
across from the vet's
we
place?
certainly did. I think it was this spring though, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was a
Yes.
It would have been this
ceremony.
spring. And that
Remember
would have
that?
been 2
Yeah.
trees down there, and then there were 2 over on Pleasant Street by the church. Ray, you and I went down and marked those areas. Do you remember planting any on Pleasant Street by the church, Paul?
No. The only stuff we did was Main Street and Cottage Street.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a total of 17 trees.
To clarify, this is a calendar year total, not a fiscal year total, a calendar year total, right?
I'm talking about 2025.
Okay, all right, just wanted to be clear.
Right. Okay, anybody else?
Are these all town trees? It's not BIA or,
No,
Any-
these are trees that the tree committee put in,
oh,
not the BIA.
okay. I must have missed that discussion.
Well, we talked about it last spring, and it's taken us a little bit of time to select the trees and get them put in. So I'm looking at the entire year. For the 2025 year, we've planted 17 trees.
17 or 19, if we have the 15, the 2 at the Cottage Street Playground and the 2 at Pleasant Street, or those haven't been planted?
We
I don't-
took off the 2 on Broad Street because we think that might have been last year.
Yeah, it was last
But
year.
2
No,
on
it's not.
Pleasant Street, you said
there were-
before.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
that
recall
was-
2 on
I don't
Pleasant
think
Street.
we had
Okay,
put those in yet.
okay, so I've got 17. Well, hey, is that better
Um,
than last year? I'll look
didn't
at
we
last
do-
year's number.
Didn't we do some of the senior center as well? Or was
Oh,
that
yeah.
previous too?
Was that
That-
this year?
Where are you speaking? I didn't hear you, Paul.
The senior center?
The senior center was last year. not
Okay.
this year.
Yeah.
I counted them last year in our submission.
Right. Okay, very good. I want to come back to plantings under new business. Common trees, we talked about the possibility of spraying. Where are we still moving ahead with that, or?
I contacted a half a dozen companies. I haven't got any good organized response yet. At this point, the spraying season's over. So whatever we're gonna do, if anything, it'll be in next year.
Would that be spring or fall? Does it matter?
Well, I'm guessing that it's gonna be a fall application. My preference is to avoid the injections and just go for the spray, and that's done in the fall.
Brian, the fact that you haven't had any responses, is that foreboding bad news?
Well, no, it's not really an accepted treatment option. It's sort of experimental, so that's an issue. You just can't just spray anything you want or use a pesticide any way you want. It has to be labeled for that use. So that's an obstacle for some things. So that's mostly what it's about. I think. But again, we're in a winter now. Everybody will be shutting down. Whatever we're going to do next year. So we have plenty of time on that. And what I've been doing is I've been involved taking classes to become qualified for this position. And I've been doing every couple of weeks I do a day. So I'm on my last of the 8 classes. I'll be a qualified tree warden as of December. I think at that point I'll get together with Paul and start, looking for hazard trees and dangerous trees in a more organized fashion.
That's good. That's great.
Paul, is that cost to pay for that training coming out of the DPW budget? Because I feel like we can add that to our, if there was a line item that we can do expenses for training and things like that, unless it's free.
The town did pay for it. It was
Okay.
about, it might have been as much as $800 for the class.
Yeah,
you know
we
what?
can
I
add
do
that.
recall the invoice.
We can add that.
I'll find that.
Okay, anything else, Brian, you want to add?
No, I think that's it. I'll have to get out and get a look at those newly planted trees too and see how we did.
Okay,
Yeah, take a look at the back of the academy building at Zelkova and the maple. Those are pruned back. The beech tree in front of the library. Everything on the right-hand side of the library, that whole invasive line, and for that matter, the entire library parking lot. We've cleaned it and raised it way up.
Those are the ones that Ferguson did for you.
Yeah.
Did he do the buildings along the merchants buildings along the town common too?
That's the next phase. He just wrapped up that first phase. And
Okay, because I know that was an issue.
yeah, that should be next. Hopefully, maybe even this week, but probably next week we'll start.
That would be great.
great.
And what is that pruning you said?
There was some interest that the locust trees along the town common be pruned back from the buildings. There was some
Okay.
complaints about that.
Okay,
And then the rest of the pruning was stuff that we all looked at together. I think like when we were out walking around, we're just pruning off on some of the municipal buildings that needed to be done. The administration building and the town library.
well, thank you.
Good. Any other questions for Brian? Okay, Brian, from my perspective, I really appreciate your work. I mean, you're a great asset to this committee and to the town in what you're doing, and hopefully we'll keep going and using your expertise going forward.
Yes, I hope to be around for a while.
We'll get you a salary increase. All right, form review, just quickly, we have the form on October 22nd. Went all right. I'm never excited about the results of the forum. I thought Brian was the main asset to the forum. And I know people mentioned afterwards to me how much he knew and how important he is to the town. I'm always in favor of doing forums like this, and I think we should look to continue them and improving upon them in 2 ways. One, using it not only to inform, but also to lobby for the tree committee. and also to try to get more people to come to the meetings. It's just the way it is. I'm not sure how other forums or how many people show up, but I think it's important to get the word out that trees are important in this town and that we have to keep pushing to protect the trees and perhaps plant new ones. Anybody, any comments, anybody?
I was amazed that it was as well attended as it was. Were those mainly tree committee people?
No, there were a number of new people, that
Yeah.
there were not new tree committee people there. There are some people, I have some friends that come out if I do something, it's the way, you don't want to stack a meeting, but, I'd like to see more people, that's all. All right, new business. As an introduction, we've been in operation for, I don't know what, 3.5 years, 3 years, whatever it is, as a committee. And I think we've accomplished things. Down deep within me, I think we should be doing more and getting more done. And I'm not sure whether we need to reorganize or just do more things. I was at the the meeting on the new trail behind the prison that
State Farm Trail.
I'm sorry.
State Farm Trail.
Yeah, the State Farm Trail that Kitty Doherty had, I think that is every 2 months. And she's worked very hard on that. And she's worked very hard on trails in this town for years and generally behind the scenes. And if you follow what she's been doing in the State Farm Trail, it's taken a long time getting the state, the town, private individuals to work together to get permits to build the trail, to get the money involved to do it. And it's coming together. And I just thought to myself, she has a long-term project to get it done, and she's accomplishing it. They put in the parking lots for the trailheads, and the trail is going to be cut sometime in the spring, it seems like. And I just think that we need some sort of a long-term project too. What are we trying to do? I know we plant a few trees every year. We become Tree City again, but it seems to me, and I'm not sure how you people are thinking about this, that we should have a long-term goal or goals to work to better the environment of this town with trees. And maybe going forward, you can think about it and maybe we come up with something. That's tied together with the first item on the new business where, we've talked about grants, we haven't done anything. And we're obviously late for next year, where you have to have it in by October and November. But Nicole has looked into it, and I think we need to come up with a goal where we can specify what we need money-wise, human work-wise, and then get a grant into the state sometime in the spring for the following year. So I don't know, you can chime in right now with what you're thinking about it, but I was thinking that if we can all think going forward about what a good grant proposal look like. Any thoughts right now?
Well, I think we did discuss trying to obtain funds to do the tree inventory.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that's a possibility, yes. I'm just saying that I think we should discuss this in more detail at the beginning of next year, but come down with something that we really want. Brian, Paul, you probably know more than I do anyway regarding what's involved in the tree inventory, but I expect if it's done right, it's going to cost a decent amount of money. And whether
Right.
that's in line for a grant, I don't know, I'm clueless. So,
Well, I think one of my main concerns, and it wouldn't cost any money, it just takes labor and manpower, is trying to develop regulations that will protect trees on private land.
okay. What do you think about that, Brian? What's your knowledge?
Well, that is a popular refrain. A lot of the Towns near to Boston have adopted that, so I think Newton has an ordinance like that. Cambridge certainly does. So I mean, if you were going to do that, you could easily adopt what they're already using for a
You know,
model, anyways. If you
Ryan,
want to
you know
go in that
anything-
direction.
Do you know anything about the history of that proposal in terms of how long it's been in effect and how it's been taken by the residents of the town?
No, those are relatively new things that have come up in the last few years. There's been a lot of there's been a lot of teething issues with it. You know how it's been implemented and getting people to understand that it's an issue. Those sorts of things. A lot of confrontations with people that are have had problems with it. But it's not. As I say, that one way to do it would be to use their models. They've already got most of the kinks worked out of it. If you want to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be good.
we already did all that research. We found several of them already because we were trying to reference the funding. Remember when we were talking about tree mitigation? This is going about it in a roundabout way. We were, in my mind, I 100% agree. We should be on the front end, obviously, finding ways to protect more trees on private property. But and nonetheless, we were using the cost models that those ordinances have for taking down trees, but many of them actually require like replacement.
Yeah, that's
So there's-
typically what they require: replacement in kind and a review
Kind.
process.
Yes.
You know, a
You go
permit
to
to
tree
take them
hearings
down.
and permitting process.
Yeah.
So, most of the municipalities that we work in actually do have tree ordinances that require, I guess the greater Boston area for sure. The
Yeah, the only
Wellesleys and the Westons and the Needhams and those towns all have those in place.
yeah, but they are relatively new. It's in the last couple of years that it's
Yeah.
come in place. Yeah.
Two things. One, I'm not against doing it. I just, is the comment. One, when this tree committee was formed, it was formed intentionally, I believe, on public trees. Partly due to the fact that I think if we come up with an ordinance for private trees, we'll get a lot of pushback. And I'm not against it. I'm just saying, just be aware of that, that's all. So that's all I'm saying.
Nope.
In a recent, there is someone else in the town that does come to a lot of the town council meetings, and he has brought up points similar to what I've brought up as well, that, there might be low-hanging fruit places where we could start suggesting that tree removal be avoided. For example, there are already zoning setbacks where you cannot build a structure. So at one point I was researching ordinances that cover, tree protection in those setbacks, for example, where you can maybe modify a small percentage, because obviously you're going to need maybe selective clearing, or you're going to need a driveway or whatever, but it would help prevent the clear cutting that goes on for, without any planning at all. There's
Right,
just complete clear cutting, and some of those trees absolutely on almost 100% of these projects could have been maintained. So we're not saying, perhaps we find a sweet spot for what makes sense for our town. We're not Newton and we're not, Weston. But I think that we could find some middle ground to suggest, which is, we definitely started doing that for a while and we kind of just put it on hold. So we already have a little bit of background.
Right.
To
Anybody
do some
else?
research.
Comments for a,
Definitely want to talk. I mean, town council is who you want to talk to, right?
that would probably be later.
yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. We have to come up with proposals before it goes to the council.
Right.
Go to the town manager first, then the council.
Right.
But all I'm asking now is that we at least toss around ideas, and maybe sometime February, March, we come up with a plan of how we want to proceed. In other words, what we want to do, what we want to accomplish in terms of a grant, and secondly, how to go about doing it. And I think from the political point of view, I think we have to take that into account when we decide on anything. That's all. So
Yeah. I think the grant's going to have to, I can't imagine that might be difficult to get a grant funded for that work. But I think all the other things we were talking about, when I started doing some grant research, is our tree inventory, some of the help with the pest management, doing
Right.
like a tree succession plan for the downtown, like all of those things that have to do with public trees or climate resilience. We would be able to build a really good case for getting funding through a lot of the, I think there was like 3 or 4 that I started looking into that I think we can definitely go for.
Just on that topic, just an aside, when I was at one of the council meetings, I sat next to Bob Ruley, and I mentioned grant writing to him, and he indicated that he would help. He could help. So that, I think that's important. Obviously, we need somebody to write
Okay,
that.
okay.
Okay, anybody else on grants?
One
Grants,
other,
grant writing?
one other thing I was thinking of is how we can try to educate children. Certain grades maybe are more appropriate than others, but how we can try to give them a sense of appreciation for trees and incorporate them somehow in a responsibility for helping to be sure that trees are protected, to pass out flyers of information, perhaps. In general, open up the young population to an appreciation for trees. And I don't know exactly how we could go about that, but I think that if we can start young enough, we can probably develop a new generation of tree lovers or tree huggers, so to speak.
Well, that's easy. Give them trees. Back after Hurricane Gloria, I gave out 1,500 tulip trees. I bought bare root off the state. The county used to sell. They probably still do some varieties. And you could I distributed them bare root to all the school kids, local school kids. So right away you're getting buy-in and ownership, and it's cheap.
We did something like that in relation to Arbor Day and gave out seedlings at the polls when people came in to vote. But that didn't focus necessarily on kids.
I gave them to all the school kids.
Yeah.
But that's a great Arbor Day project. You can just pick them up bare root and give them out. That way they can go right in the ground. Boom. And as I say, that's ownership and buy-in, all those issues.
We already have the middle school. We already have the middle school principals principal and science teachers on board because they participate in our poster contest. So we could basically just propose to expand. And then obviously if we want to hit the elementary school, we could certainly do that as well.
I think Shirley brings up an excellent point, and that is, how we get into the schools. And she's absolutely right. And the more you educate them at a younger age, the better. So maybe we should start thinking about that too, besides grant writing, just the idea of how to get into schools. I mean, Nicole has done, as she just said, a great job in terms of the middle school with the poster contest, but maybe we need to do more. So let's think about that too. All right. Planting, we haven't talked about plantings for the spring. But I mean, we're obviously a few months away, so I think we should think about that going for the next meeting and the meeting after of where we want to plant and what kind of trees we want to plant. Any comments now or? Okay. I've been told that the committees will be asked to do presentations in front of the council next year. And so we should be happy to do one. I did one last year in February, I believe it was. If we're asked to do it again, I think it'd be great if we do it, and maybe one of you do the presentation instead of myself. So let's think about that. Okay. The other thing is, I didn't put down on the agenda, but I've been thinking about for a while. We are operating as a tree committee. There's an open space committee operating on its own. There's the BIA that's been around for decades. We're not working together. It seems to me that there are some things obviously we have separate agendas in some cases, but it seems to me there are some things we can work together on and get more accomplished by working together. So I'm not sure how to do it, but maybe we can think about that, about whether to have a joint meeting sometime, or just having a small discussion with some of the members of the BIA and the Open Space Committee. Just any thoughts right now on this?
Well, there's that project that, I mean, Nicole had mentioned getting a landscape architect for the town commons. In one of our last discussions, I think that's a project that works for all those groups. BIA would be interested in that. I think the area really needs a cohesive plan that ties all that together. The merchants, the historical society, and the tree committee, because we're talking about tree replacement. But there should be a plan for that whole area that integrates all those interests. Making sure the sidewalks are accessible going forward, and all the things you need to do. That should already be a cohesive layout, which it has a theme right now, but it really needs to be spelled out and planned.
Yeah.
And like I say, that works for all those groups. Maybe that's at least a subject matter, right? So the revamping or replanting of the town common plantings.
You said it well, Brian. How do you want to go about doing this? It's always the devil in the details.
Yeah.
I mean, we could try to have okay, wait a minute. Let's step back. Brian, you're saying that the common could be the one issue that we bring people together on, right?
Well, specifically right now, the subject would be, to raise a budget for that and hire somebody who's going to do it. We need a landscape architect. That's going to be a selection process. I don't think it's not a level of expertise that anybody here has. I don't think. I think you need a landscape architect to come in and do it.
But you also indicated that, I mean, I think you're implying that there's more than simply picking a landscape architect, that
Oh yeah, well, we just
there needs to
discussed
be a
all those
plan for the
interests.
common in a sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I were a merchant on the common there, I'd be very interested in how that happens. What's going to go there? That's all
And-
those things.
Yeah, I mean, in the landscape architect and, / planner would, are very accustomed to run, organizing plans like that, where they start from an assessment of the existing conditions and they help do some of the historical analysis. But if nothing else, they do a lot of the stakeholder collaboration where they're able to kind of help align all the different priorities. And then obviously it ends with kind of the plan, like how are we going to what's the succession plan for when we lose trees? How should we plant trees
And
in
we'll also
the
have knowledge
sidewalk?
about
Yeah,
we'll also have knowledge about writing grants and how we get funding for it, because they'll have the experience. We need to find that,
yeah.
decide who that person is.
So Ray, you
Yeah, I
were
mean,
minute.
I have experience with doing that, and also, I just don't have much time. But I think that between Bob and our whole committee, I mean, I feel like writing the grant, if we can kind of basically develop our wish list. What is this plan? What are the different elements? And then come up with a budget for it. I started to talk to a few landscape architects, most specifically about kind of more the inventory and the tree succession plan. But if it, expands a little bit, it would probably cost a little bit more, but it would all be within probably the grant levels that we probably would be looking at, which is like the $10,000 to $50,000 grants. The only problem is to
all of
start to
that.
think about which ones are matching grants. The challenge is, I think a few of the grants that we might be able to go for planning are match grants. So we would have to have buy-in, if we decide that we need $20,000 to do some master plan. I'm just throwing a random number out there. I think it would be 10,000 from, the state, and we would have to agree that the town could kick in 10. So there's a lot of pre-planning before we can even write the grant if we're looking at any of the matching grants, because we have to
could the
get
funds
buy-in.
come from our budget? I mean, the money that we have from the tree mitigation, could it come from that?
Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
It's because it's in town. The town technically owns that budget,
So
right?
that's
In
not going to
like,
be an
yeah.
obstacle, right?
Okay.
Ray, did you check with Bob Rowley? You were, I think, considering that,
Check what?
about grant writing.
Yeah, I did mention it to him. I did mention that he did say, I just casually mentioned it. I said, we're considering doing a grant, and he said he could help.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, this is all good, but what action should we be doing? What should we doing between now and the next meeting?
How do we
I mean,
start that
we're
process?
talking about, wait a minute, we're talking about, it seems to me, getting people together, getting various groups together in order to plan to do something to the common. Is that correct? Is that where we're at right now? Then if that's the case, how are we gonna do it? What's the next step here?
Have
I
another
don't want to
meeting
leave
and
the
invite,
meeting with simply saying that, great, and then we let it go.
Right.
plan another meeting and invite those stakeholders,
And what? Say again, Brian?
discuss it some more. And discuss it some more.
With the other committees?
Yeah, with the other committees.
Okay, what committees are we talking about? Talking about the BIA, we're talking about the Historic Commission,
And you have an
And-
open space committee too?
Open Space,
Yeah.
who else?
Is there a merchants organization or business
There is.
association for the square beyond BIA?
There is,
Whoever that would be.
okay? Okay, let's step back a second. Particular, what are we talking about doing in terms of the common besides the trees?
Get a landscape architect.
Well, as I say, the landscape architect would in some ways help to determine that. But just, casually, we have pathways and that sort of thing for access there. Do those conform? My guess is they don't. They have to have they're to certain standards. So whoever's going to come in and do that is going to tell you those things, what the extent of it is.
Well, wait a minute, though, then we have to, wait a minute, because Ruley's committee has been doing this for the last 3 years or 2 years on trying to redo the common.
So,
Yeah.
The central square, and then we'll be stepping on what they've been doing then.
Yes.
Well, who is that?
Bob Ruley, the Community and Economic Development Committee, has had a plan for redoing Central Square for the last year and a half, which has not gone into effect for a variety of reasons. But the common is part of their plan. And then,
We
they
should-
talked about redoing, crosswalks and everything like that, the lighting and the like.
Can you
Redoing
clarify-
traffic even.
Yeah.
Ray, can you
I-
clarify Ruley's relationship to what happens on the common itself? I didn't have a feeling that he had anything to do with what happens on the common, only the traffic patterns around the central square.
Right.
In the
That's-
sidewalks.
But
Yeah.
aren't we just talking about more than simply trees, though?
Well, that's obviously somebody else that should be invited to your meeting, right?
I
Well-
think, I feel like the tree committee wants to put forward the fact that we want to identify all of the vulnerabilities of the trees in the common and surround. And that we feel we want to bring forward, we need a plan, a comprehensive plan, whether we want to coordinate it with those other committees that have overlapping interests. And perhaps we could come together for a stronger plan that's more, instead of everybody does their own little plans for their own little silo, it could be coordinated as one big thing. But for us as part of the tree committee, I feel like all we can do is bring forward what we want to do, which really has to do with protecting the trees.
yeah, I would just say if we're
Yeah.
gonna add new trees to the common, we wanna overlay it with their plan to make sure we're not putting a tree where they gotta put a crosswalk or things of that nature. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, okay, Paul, that's good. So what we're saying then is, try and narrow this down. In theory, the tree committee is going to plant new trees on the common. We want other committees to be involved so that we plant the right trees and where they're planted and so forth. Is that what we're saying?
Essentially, I think that captures it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
don't,
that it should be part of a comprehensive plan for the whole square.
Okay,
And I think
So
that
it's-
there are some things that happen on the common that are sort of sacrosanct and should not be considered to be open for redevelopment or change of any sort. There are some memorials that are there on
That's
the
right.
south end of the common. And there's the fountain that's on the north end of the common. Things like that are part of the history of the common. And I don't think we want a group to come in
no.
and say, well, we're going to move this or take this out or whatever.
That's right.
Shirley, I don't think that's come up at all. I don't think there's any intent to,
no, I think you could see some walkways be moved to make better use of safer crosswalks and safer crossing areas, things of that nature. But
Outside of the common, yeah.
the general
guess-
scope of the common, I don't see changing all that much.
I guess knowing though that this is that whole entire planning study is a massive undertaking, and I'm wondering if we could certainly talk about it, but if we want to get started on things, perhaps the first step is what we have been talking about, that we need an inventory. We want to basically understand what we have for trees, what is vulnerable, and start to develop a tree succession plan for protecting and replacing trees as they fall. Because otherwise we're just going to be waiting for however many more years this whole planning study gets dusted off again. I don't know, just my thought. I mean, I feel I want to coordinate it with everything, but I'm also feeling like next year's grant deadline will come and go, and we might miss another opportunity if we're trying to make this too big to get started, unless we really get everybody else on board to work with us on this.
I agree with what Nicole is saying. I think our job as a tree committee is to focus on trees. And I just hesitate bringing in a lot of other groups whose primary focus is not trees. And that they may have another focus, and before you know it, we've altered the common considerably, or at least there's proposals to do that. And I don't think we want to get into that aspect of changing the common. Let's put it that way.
That's true.
in the back of my mind and during this discussion, it occurred to me, I thought that the bringing other groups in to simply make them aware of our plan for the common is not a huge deal. But what it can do is plant the seed of cooperation in the future for other areas in town. And as this discussion has gone forward today, it seems to me that's the way we should go. Use the common, the idea that we're informing the other committees of what we plan to do with trees on the common, nothing else, just the trees. And then by doing that, we have set up at least the first meeting of various committees coming together, which we can use going into the year to maybe widen it to other parts of the town where we cooperate in terms of tree planting.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah,
So then what do you want to do? You want to try to get a meeting? Well, first of all, do we know what we want to do on the common? We don't have a plan yet, do we?
well, we have to replace 6 beech trees, plus the maple, plus a couple of maples. So we have some trees that needs to be replaced. That's something we have to do. It's a matter of when we do them. And we've got the beech trees that are coming down. So
Okay.
regardless, it's going to change. We have to make decisions about what the change is going to be.
Is that
Okay.
a definite, Brian? I
Yeah,
thought
those will be lost. I mean, we're
Oh,
going to try to slow.
I thought we were going to try to treat them.
Yeah, but it's just a shot in the dark. I don't want to put too many resources on it because there's not much hope. We're most likely going to replace them. It's a matter of when.
Okay, may I make a suggestion here?
Yeah.
That Ryan, you solidify in your mind what has to be done. I know you've told us before, but maybe at the next meeting in December, we can have a short meeting. You tell us exactly what trees have to come down, what has to be done on the common.
Well, I
Yeah,
can tell you
yeah.
right, tell you right now, we're not gonna take them down in advance. We're gonna let them die. But then, most likely within 6 to 8 years, all those beech trees will be gone.
Mhm.
So you're not talking about taking them down right now then? Next
No,
year?
we'll get
No.
what we can out of them, and we try to slow it down or delay it as long as we can, but
And that's why the planning study would be helpful, because if we can get grant funding for the planning study, we can basically identify, you know, maybe a pest management plan, or just identify the need to try to treat them. We could identify the tree succession plan. And once you have a planning study with like an action plan, then you can apply for more grants to actually pay for some of the treatments or some of the construction or some of the trees. So it's like you have to have a planning study first before you can get money to actually do trial treatments or get, you know, funding for trees planting or whatever. So I feel like that plan is critical. We could call it like a downtown tree plan or tree succession plan, where we really want to help, you know, come up with a strategic way that we're going to go about this.
And this is irrespective of the tree survey, right, Nicole? Or part of it?
I think the tree survey is part of it. I mean, they would, especially because Brian's pretty much already identified, you know, the health
Yeah.
of the tree. That would just be a matter of like documenting that, you know, though the landscape architecture firm would be able to help with the GIS map that helps to show where the different trees are, what's their species, what's their size, what's their health, like those type of things could be part of the plan as well.
So are
Nicole,
we
It always
talk-
starts with like, here's the existing conditions, here's the issues, and here's what here's a plan for how we're gonna deal with it.
Okay, Pat,
who's qualified to do that planning study, Nicole?
that's part of the grant, I think.
I know, but
Oh, like
it has
the-
to have the identity of who's going to do the study.
it's like a landscape architect and planning
Okay.
firm. There's dozens and dozens of them. They're mostly in Boston area, but I talked to a few just conceptually about what, you know, what just to start getting a budget in line. They were throwing some numbers around $10,000-$12,000. A lot of them said that they would want to partner with someone like Bartlett, who would help them, you know, with some of those pest management and tree maintenance issues. And the landscape architect would kind of help organize everything between working with our committee and working with their, you know, their consultant, who would be like someone like from Bartlett Tree Experts.
I can do the tree expert end of it, but I need somebody that does the planning end of it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm as or more qualified than anybody you'd come in contact with at Bartlett or any of the tree
Perfect.
companies around.
So they would not have to partner with them. They would just work closely with you. And so
Yeah,
that
we
would
can
save
do
money.
that.
Yeah, that
But
would be
we-
good.
But we do need that person, whoever you guys would decide is going to be that person. That's kind of where we started this conversation, trying to decide
Yep.
who that is.
Well, I know that in the past we've had, what the heck's her name? Do a lot of landscape architect for us here and
Oh, yeah.
for the town, Melissa Desjardins. And I don't know if we want to contact her or take a vote to do something like that.
Well, we need the
Oh.
money first, but that's why I was trying to get some order of magnitude budgets. But I think that if we're talking about that cost, we would have to put it out to bid. We would have to put it out to bid to qualified firms to bid on, to give us a proposal for their
Oh.
services. I think, I don't know what the city procurement, what our town procurement values are, but I'm imagining it's probably in that range. Like if someone was gonna do a $10,000 study, Paul, you would have to put that out to bid, right?
I don't think at 10,000 you do. I think 10
Oh.
to 50,000 is a different set of criteria.
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't quote me on that. We really need to check with the town manager or Lori in finance.
yeah.
Just-
Okay.
Just an aside, Nicole, remember I met the landscape
Chadley could-
architect that you know, he lives in Bridgewater. They just moved to
They
Bridgewater.
do now live in Bridgewater. They could
Yeah.
totally do this plan.
Yeah,
They would do a great job with this plan, actually.
All right, we're approaching an hour. I don't like to go more than an hour in any meeting. What's our next step? We need a definitive step. What are we doing next? What's the first step we have to do?
I think we
Come on,
need to just get in writing um an outline for this, for our wish list, this planning study, this inventory. That's sort of the first step, because then if we're going to coordinate a meeting early next year with potential collaborators, we would want to maybe start with saying, hey, this is what we're going to, start working on getting some grant funding to do. And to just open up those lines of communication that moving forward, we want to make sure that everything is coordinated with all of these other groups. But we feel this is a really important first step or something like
Okay.
that. So I feel like we almost need a little work session to just scope out what is our desire for, what do we want to get out of this little planning study?
All right,
What
can we do
can-
this
yeah.
then? Would it help,
Yeah.
Brian, if you feel up to it, can you put together
Yeah.
in terms of what you've already done on the common trees, what needs to be done and various options? And we can discuss it at the next meeting, settle on a possible possible move forward, and then vote on it, and then open it up in the spring, in the January, February, to other people, to other groups to come in and talk about it. But
Okay,
the
I can do
idea is
that
that
for
we're
our
gonna
next
try to-
meeting.
Pardon me?
I can have that for our next meeting then.
And can we include the Bill Maltby tree somewhere in that common area?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Pat.
Can we include the Bill Maltby trees on the
Oh,
common?
Yeah,
We
definitely.
haven't finalized any details on that, at least not that I'm aware of.
No, we said we put that off till spring.
I know, but that's right around the corner.
I-
A long winter ahead of us.
Yeah, well. All right. Okay, so for the next meeting, the main thing we will talk about is the plan, the proposed plan, not necessarily the plan, the proposed plan or plans for the common. And if we can settle on that, we'll then decide how to proceed in terms of who else we need, how to write the grant, and bringing in other committees. Is that fair?
Great.
Anybody
Good.
else? Okay, so let's think about it. I think this has been a good discussion. I really do. I mean, this is, we're getting things out. To me, we've got to move forward to this committee and do more things. And I think this is a good first step in terms of doing it. So I thank all of you. So Brian, I guess it's on your shoulder right now to come up with a 2 or 3 step procedure for the common. And then we'll discuss at the next meeting and how to proceed. Okay,
Great. I'll circulate a copy of that before the next meeting.
great. Anybody else? Then I will take a motion to adjourn. Thank you very much. It's been a good meeting.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Need a
Yeah.
motion.
Bye.
Gotta do it right.
Oh.
Bye now.
A motion, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Unless you want to stay on another hour, I'm going on now.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
I
We're out of here. Thank you, guys.
Bye now.